Hello, today I'm going to do a study of game mechanics on a war game that has been ported to the PlayStation 4, and I got it for $5 off the PlayStation Store, and I learned how to do screen capture. Unfortunately, they got a watermark on them, so I apologize for that. And I've give this game a pretty fair shake. I've got every trophy except one. I played it countless times. It became surprisingly addictive. This is the one that I haven't been able to figure out how to get. So you begin, it's the Battle of the Bulge, and you know the classic uh, scenario of you got to move fast, but and one side has got an advantage at the beginning, the other side has an advantage at the end, and it uses an area movement map. I don't particularly mind area movement. I actually like it a lot. They had games such as Storm over Arnhem and Thunder at Casino, I believe, that had area movement, and it works pretty well. You can vary the size of the areas if you're designing a game, so that areas that are quick to traverse, they're just you just make big areas out of them. So at the beginning of the game, there are some advantages, not just in numbers, but in you know the first couple turns. There's some things that the Germans get three surprise attack turns where they get to move their infantry. So you highlight a unit, and it'll show you where all the spaces you can move to. Um, it's pretty simple. It's very intuitive. So when you move, in this instance, this unit crossed a bridge, so the other unit behind it can't follow it. So it has to go somewhere else. You can just move it down here so that it's then hooked up with another unit. And after you've moved the unit, it changes the color of the unit a little bit, and you can't, it's activated. So this combat, nothing happened. And it's interesting, keep an eye on that. That unit moved and fought, but it failed. So watch, we're going to bring in another unit, okay? Now notice the defender defends again, and then the attacker only gets to attack with the new unit. So that's one of the drawbacks to activating by area. You have to mass your attack from one area or from units that were already within. So like if you have two units already in a space, you can move one in and then all three attack. But it's other than that, you're attacking piecemeal, and the defender gets to defend each time. That's an unusual design thing, and I thought I would really dislike it, but it kind of works. In this instance, the units were already there. You started the game there, so you just attack them. So now the Americans can begin moving, and they get to start moving, but their infantry, you can see, has a little do not move sign on it. So that you don't have to worry about their infantry moving. They're stuck for the first turn. So we're going to have to move forward, try to grab some roads, try to prevent units from moving rapidly, because if you're moving along a road with a mechanized unit, you can really move. And all of the American units um, are motorized, so they can go really fast. So the Allies launch a counterattack here. Again, nothing happens. When you're playing a computer war game, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You just sort of, I mean, you don't have to know it as intimately like you do with a computer game or a board game. You know, okay, I got a 3-to-1 attack, my whatever. This you just move, and so sometimes I wind up seeing things, and I'm like, I didn't expect that. And then you get surprised. So one of the keys to the game is supply. Cutting units out of supply, keeping your units in supply. Supply is figured out in the overnight turns. So with each day, you can be out of supply most of the day. It's just by next morning you got to be back in supply, and you can use that feature to check to see who's in supply, who controls what space. Um, you control the space if you're the last one to solely occupy it. Here's another example of not knowing what's going on. I believe there must be a quality difference here, because the Volksgrenadiers had 6 attacks and they didn't do nothing and got 2 attacks, 2 hits in return. So it's really it's an interesting little game. I mean, you can play it laying on your couch, which is what I've been doing because I got a foot injury. And you have to decide if you want to push your spearheads forward or secure their flanks. Push forward or secure their flanks. And I think this kind of was, part of the whole idea of the Blitzkrieg and that type of warfare. So we're going to mass an attack here. We moved 1 unit in, 2 units were already there, and so all 3 units got to attack. That's that kind of how it works. And none of the units had attacked previously. So this is there's 3 units there. We could move all 3 over there because there's no bridge. But if I did that, then the Allied unit could just march forward and claim another space and sort of, be in the rear area. So we have to leave someone back there to kind of guard the space. And you can see they got some white. They have a white building and a white tree. That's their defense. Your hits pretty much a lot of times just bounce off their cover and don't do anything. So, you activate units one at a time. Once the computer runs out of units that it wants to move, it passes. And if the computer passes and then you pass, the day ends immediately. So you have to be careful you don't pass, because then the computer can pass and end the day. But eventually time runs out and you go on to the next day. Starting the second day, you get to sabotage someone. So we're going to sabotage that unit down there to prevent it from moving forward. I think there was some commandos that were deployed during this particular battle, and they were able to sabotage. In the movie, they changed some road signs and stuff. It was kind of neat. So here we have a dilemma. This is our spearhead. There's a lot of empty real estate, and you better grab it because it's a lot easier to take it when it's sitting empty than when it's packed full of GIs and foxholes. So we moved forward with our spearhead, moved another unit up so that we kept the supply line going. The Allies, their main armor unit was Sabotage, so they're going to move a second one up and defend the crossroads there, which is sort of the cornerstone to the southern edge of the Bulge, was that town. And failure to take it because of the road network that went through there and stuff was, it was really problematic, and it will be a problem for you in the game if you don't take it. And it's a tough spot to take. So this was surprising to me. The computer abandoned that town. I think it's Viviers. I can't pronounce nothing. And that was, it does some interesting things. It'll throw some surprises at you. But I didn't have anyone to take advantage of it, and that's where its reinforcements come from. So it probably was like, I don't care. But, yeah, so we're going to shuttle some troops forward and start trying to put some pressure on there. And it abandons, it doesn't abandon, but it moves a unit out of Bastogne to try to block some of the crossroads that are up there. And this little unit on the Eisenborn Ridge has been very problematic. It gets attacked repeatedly, and it fends things off for a long time. And it's when you're doing a game, recreating the Battle of the Bulge, it's those little hiccups that come back to cause you problems. So I don't know. I mean, overall I think I didn't want to like the game because of the alternating activations. I mean, it's hard to coordinate, but at the last turn that I'm going to show, and we're not going to go through the whole game. I just want to kind of show you the play, and then we're going to do some screenshot captures here, and the screenshots are the ones with the watermarks. But then I can kind of explain to you the mechanics of the game, because that's what really I'm trying to show. That's how this designer did this. So this is the supply situation. We've got this unit cut off back here, and our spearhead you can see is breaking through there. The German supplies are coming in from the right-hand side. The Allied supplies are coming in from all the way around. It's very beneficial if you can sort of walk the edge of the map, because then they can't bring in reinforcements or supplies. I managed to do that a little bit in this particular replay, and it helped out a lot. So here's the situation I was talking about. I would love to be able to attack Bastogne from these three positions, but I can't. So I have to send one unit across the bridge, and since I'm activating that crossroads up there, I can send the other unit in a different direction. I can't send them both because there's a bridge there. You can only cross a bridge to attack with one unit at a time. The attack failed, and so those units are tied up. But sometimes it's good to just tie a unit up, because you can't move a unit that has an enemy in the space. You can't move into an enemy-controlled space. So it's kind of like a pinning attack, if that makes any sense. You're not going to win, but you're going to keep them from running around. They can run around in their own rear areas. They can sort of withdraw, but they can't go very far. So this is a situation here. It's very tempting to make this run. It's almost, because that would cut off those areas. But then this unit could come back and cut off the spearhead. So you're constantly juggling what to do and what to do. I'm going to send the 116th up here to secure a supplies around the southern edge, and that's going to cut off the American units on the space marked red. Those units now don't have supply. So the computer launches a counterattack on my infantry unit there, and you can see that this is only 2 spaces from where things began. I mean, this is the computer's launching a counterattack to pretty much push me all the way back to the starting location. If that had succeeded, it would have really caused me some supply problems. But as it is, you know, we're still hanging in there. So I did move the spearhead across there, and at the beginning of the next turn, you can see those units are out of supply. We managed to surround them with the 116th, and we have some new reinforcements coming in. New units arrived, very powerful units showed up. That unit's still in supply, and it's right next to, you know, the exit situation. Although its supply situation is pretty tenuous, it's got to snake its supplies up through there because from the northern edge, the Americans are still really, really strong there. Now, here's where it's interesting. I want to do this, move my spearhead up to smash them. I want to attack Bastogne with all of those 3 units because I can move those 2 infantry units in and attack with the panzer that's already there. I also want to finish this unit off that's a thorn in my side in the back. And I'd like to pin down the 2nd Infantry Division to keep him from pulling back and cutting off my spearhead. And I want to do them all first. And I also want to do that. Run that guy across there and grab the city in the northern edge. And that's the thing about alternating activation that I kind of grew to like. I decided to do the Bastogne attack first, thinking it was important to try to capture it before that heavy armor division moved in. I failed utterly. It was a terrible attack. The computer, surprisingly, you know, came down and cut off my supplies. And then I attacked with the 116th Panzer Division against the airborne. Terrible, terrible. They got pounded, almost completely eliminated in their attack. It was terrible. But the computer decided it was more important to cut off my supplies, and he dropped the 2nd Infantry Division back. So I know that the 1st SS is going to be out of supplies very soon. I moved the spearhead up that armored force to try to smash them, and it destroyed that unit that was out of supply there. If you destroy a unit with mechanized forces, you get to do an overrun attack. So we're going to split that spearhead up and put them in those 3 positions. Now, in this instance, there's not a second attack, but so you're entering a unit's space. So this is what the supply looks like. Those areas that are circled are all American controlled because they were the last person to have a unit in there. And that spearhead up there he's out of supply, or he's going to be at the end of the day. So I've got to move him ahead. I finally managed to smash that Eisenborn Ridge with, I don't know, I mean, you're just clicking the button, and one time it works, the other times it doesn't. So over here, they smashed the 116th Panzer and finished it off with both airborne units, and then overrun with the armor to get across the Meuse River. I try again at Bastogne and fail again. And surprisingly, instead of putting that heavy unit in there, the computer launches a counterattack in the south to try to cut off some of my supplies. So this is sort of a little bit dicey here. And that's kind of how it looks. The 1st Panzer is all the way across up there, but he's completely out of supply. And there's kind of a wall of troops across there. And then that unit is in supply because it's tracing through Bastogne, and it's able to run amok in the rear. But this is how the game kind of ended. Essentially, the Americans were stretched too thin, and because they didn't have the troops coming in from the north, they should have had a lot more troops. So I think that made a huge difference in how this played out. So I want to thank my son for buying a PlayStation 5 and handing me down his PlayStation 4. I'm getting some use out of it with a turn-based war game for a older gamer.